Warm greetings to each and every one of you. My name is Padre Durocher. I'm the Archbishop of Gatineau. This is my seventh video clip in the series, The Mass Unconfined. In my last video clip, I spoke about how already the ringing of the bells starts, you could say, the process of Mass for us. And today I want to speak about just walking into the church. The ritual hasn't started, but in a very real sense, the celebration has started. When we come into the church, obviously we are not alone. We are gathering with others. And that is one of the great, how could you say, aspects of the church that is really important to understand. Christ did not leave us a religion to be lived individually, but to be celebrated as a community. He wants us to gather as brothers and sisters who love one another in Him, to be able to celebrate the sacraments. And so we should never see the others as an obstacle to our celebration, as if the presence of others is impeding our ability to celebrate the Eucharist. They are essential to the celebration, and I am essential to them, which is why it's really important at the beginning of the celebration to greet these people with whom we will be celebrating. Greet our brothers and sisters. When I was a child, I was taught that, speaking in church was a sin. It's the first sin I confessed at my first confession. When I think about that, I don't think that was very healthy personally, because it instilled in me a sense that somehow the people that I knew all of a sudden were no longer my friends. When I walked into church, I couldn't say hi to Tommy. I couldn't say hi to Lisa. I had to be completely attentive just to the presence of God, as if there's some kind of conflict between the love of God and the love of my brothers and sisters. And yet Jesus tells us that both commandments go together. The other thing he said, when two or three are gathered in my name, I am there among you. So Christ is present to us in the gathering, gathered in his name. He is present to us. So there's a very real presence of Christ in the men and women, young and old, who gather. And I need to be able to recognize that. And so it's quite normal to say hello, to greet the people around me, to ask them how they're doing, particularly if we know they're going through a rough time or they're sick or something. How are you? How's your wife? How are your kids? That's part of being the community of Christ. At the same time, Christ is also present in the Eucharist that has been reserved in the tabernacle, the sacramental presence of Christ, which is signified by that red candle or lamp there that is lit next to the tabernacle. And when I walk into a church where I'm a stranger, one of the first things I do is I try to see, where is that tabernacle? Where is that red lamp? And then I make a genuflection. A genuflection, I put one knee down on the floor, bowing my head, being present to Christ who's present to me in the Eucharist. Some people, when they gather, their emphasis is so much on the gathering that they are, you could say, practically inattentive to the presence of Christ in the Eucharist, in the tabernacle. Others are so focused on the tabernacle that they are inattentive to the presence of Christ in our brothers and sisters. It's one of the great, how can you say, mysteries of being a Christian, is we have to hold so many things in tension, and both are true. Free will and the grace of God, and the two go together, and you can't sacrifice one for the other. The presence of Christ in the sacrament, the presence of Christ in my brothers and sisters, we have to hold both of them together. We are there for the glory of God and the salvation of the world, and between the world and God is us, the community. We, as we gather, we are the people of God, the priestly people, who will intercede for the world before God. And so let us form that body as we enter into the church, at the same time recognizing that the one who calls us together, Christ, is also present to us in the sacramental presence of the consecrated host. And so let us bow, recognize that. And before Mass starts, let us take time to recollect ourselves. Sometimes I'm astonished by walking into some churches where it's kind of as if I was walking into a store where everybody's chatting, everybody's talking away, and I feel as if the people aren't quite attentive enough to the importance of preparing ourselves, each one of us, to that. Each one has his or her own way to prepare, and we have to respect that. So we can speak to one another, but let's do so calmly in a low voice, so as not to distract the other person who maybe is gathered in a moment of silent prayer. When I was a choral singer and we would prepare to sing a concert, each singer in the choir had his personal routine, and we were attentive not to break in onto the other person's routine. It's the same thing at church. Let us be respectful of one another. Let us take time, and particularly in the last few moments before Mass starts, it's important that we gather in silence. And that silence, out of that silence, will grow the celebration of the Eucharist. Mozart once said that the silences are as important as the notes in his music. The silence before we start is an important one, because it's out of that the celebration will burst forth. And so there are some thoughts for next time when you go to church. As you enter the church, let us be attentive to one another. Let us be present to the presence of Christ in the others, but also in the consecrated host in the tabernacle. Let us hold both the glory of God and the salvation of the world together. God bless.